Yeah. So, in our last lecture, we were talking about 4+1 view architecture. There we said that, okay, instead of having a single opinion, let's add opinion from everyone. That means all these stakeholders should provide some inputs, and based on that, we'll come up with an architecture that would club the perspective of all these stakeholders. For that sake, we had your logical view, where we saw there was a logical decomposition of the architecture. Then we went for a process view, we went for the physical view and the deployment view, and then the development, right? Physical and deployment. And then the last one was plus one view, that was your traditional data flow diagrams, which were the same things which you have already covered in your software engineering course. So I thought of avoiding the discussion on that particular topic, because I assume that a lot amount of discussion has been done already in our previous course, and you people are now uh, having good amount of knowledge on that particular topic. So today we will move to one step below this particular thing, which is architecture. That means we are moving one step below to this architecture, and this thing is design or design patterns. In some of the literatures, you will also find it as architectural design pattern. Right, there are two things. Don't mix up the things, because most of the terms are common. One is your architectural design, another one is your coding design patterns. And in both these cases, you will find some similar names, but here we will talk in terms of architecture. In this, we basically discuss in terms of your coding. That means the actual implementation. Now, to start with, let's see what basically these patterns are. Let's see some basic definitions, right? So when we talk about patterns, this basically emerged from, although it's a general term, but in your software engineering or in your computer science, it came into existence when we were dealing with object-oriented designs, or you might have studied this under this OAD concept, which is your object-oriented analysis and design. And your design patterns, was given by your Eric, Richard, Ralph, and John. And so these people were called as GOF, which is nothing but it is your gang of four. Right. So all these four people gave this particular idea in this. So this idea is not very old. It came from the year 1994, and some amount of discussion is added in your main sort of book, which is your software architecture, analysis, and design. If you want to see in much more depth, then definitely you can refer to this particular content as well. So to start with, what we have is we have a design pattern. So this is something which is a general usable solution to a commonly occurring problem. And this commonly occurring problem is within a given context in your software design. See, when we are using this particular term design pattern, so we find it comprises of design and pattern. And this pattern is used in our day-to-day life, which means that there is something which is common and which is occurring and reoccurring. For example, sometimes we see some architecture, building architecture, we say that, okay, these flats are based on a certain pattern. These flats are based on, let's say, Dutch style. In our cloths, we say that, okay, this is a pattern which is followed by people these days. So the basic term pattern stands for something which is occurring and reoccurring. And in our software context, it is a solution to a commonly occurring problem within a given context in your software design. And one thing to note is that this design pattern is not a finished design that can be transformed directly into a code. There is another step to it which comes after your designs, and there we see those class diagrams which are dead, and our code is directly analogous to whatever is present in those diagrams. So this was about design pattern. So now let's see what basically is the architecture pattern. So once again, we are lifting from our old Bas Clemens and Kasman book. So this architecture pattern is a package of design decisions repeatedly found in practice. That means there is some amount of repetition in it, right? There is some amount of repetition, that is something which is reoccurring. So what we have here is when we talk about an architectural pattern, we have a context and then we have a problem in this context, and ultimately this architectural pattern is providing a solution to this particular pattern. So this pattern was this term pattern was originated in architecture. So this was given by Christopher Columbus. Sorry, Christopher Alexander. Sorry. Now, one thing to remember is that a problem may use or may have more than one pattern, right? For a specific problem, I may have more than one solution, right? So we said that, okay, this pattern is nothing but a solution to a particular problem in the context of software design or software architecture, right? So in that sense, what we have is we can have multiple solutions to each pattern. So what I've done is I've added a list of pattern, and this list is not complete because patterns are huge in number, right? Patterns are huge in number. So what we have is we have a broker pattern, right? We'll be covering this. We have MVC pattern. You might have covered this in your software engineering course as well. Yes or no? I mean, you're familiar with MVC pattern or not? Right. Yeah, we will see this MVC pattern. That too. We are not going into the technical details of it, but yes, we'll see the implementation part of it. We'll also talk about pipe and filter. We'll see the client server. We'll look into peer-to-peer. We'll see the service-oriented SOA. This is called as service-oriented architecture. Probably if time permits. Publish, subscribe. Okay, we'll cover it as well. Shared data architecture. We have a layered pattern, right? And then we have like map reduce, and we have a multi-tier. And next few slides, and we'll see the actual implementation of it as well. Now, to start with, what we have is we have broker pattern, right? Now, my question to you all is, when we say broker, what picture you draw in your mind? When we say broker, what picture you draw in your mind? Middleman who mediate any transaction, a mediator or an agent, right, right, right. There is a middleman between client and server. Very correct, very correct. Yeah. So almost again, from the title itself, you have got some idea that okay, this is something which is known to us, and this is something which is something in between your client and server, right? Because since we're dealing with software design, so this is will be something where we'll have clients, we'll have software systems, right? We'll have you know the clients, and we'll have the servers. We'll definitely talk about request and response as well. So these things will definitely be there in our discussion. Now, to start with, let's talk about your broker pattern. So what we have here is we have a broker somewhere in between, and on this end I have, let's say, clients, and on this end I have, let's say, server. All right, similarly I can have multiple clients as well. So client sends the request, so that request is further forwarded to any of the available servers as well. In return, there is a response which is once again redirected back to the client. Now, there are some added advantage of having this kind of design pattern, but looking at this particular figure, I would like to know what all benefits you see from this kind of design pattern. My question to you people is that what advantage you see in this particular one? So server can be filtered from malicious request, security advantage maybe. Yes, very correct. Now, what we see is that we have some series of requests from this end, and that is redirected to the servers. In return, we get the response which once again gets redirected to the clients. Now, the good thing is, any malicious user who is sitting here as a client has no direct access to the servers. In that case, my servers are sitting safely here. My servers are sitting safely here. So one cannot deny that its request was not fulfilled. Okay, okay. Yeah. So major advantage is that client has no clue from where this response is coming. Client only knows about this broker, that okay, I am getting this response from this particular broker or this particular machine or this particular VM, or you can implement it in based on any particular tactic. We'll also talk about tactics in our next class. So tactics are also very interesting, right? So see, today's class and next class is going to be very interesting. The reason being, we will look into some of the things which we are using on day-to-day basis, but we are not sure that okay, this is what is being used and this is what it is called as. Right. So advantage is client has no clue about the exact address of the servers, and server has to only respond back to the broker only. Yeah. So the broker does the job of establishing a communication link for the client. Very correct, Tanveen. Now the one good thing is that okay, my servers are safe, and that's why this broker pattern is very popular in case of your architecting. Okay, the color is not good. In case of architecting the distributed systems, right? So these systems make use of a middle man component in order to communicate between these server and the client. And this decoupling of components removes the dependencies and further can result in a greater system-wide efficiencies. So now, next thing is, can you give one example, or Shashwat, I'll come back to your problem. Now the next thing is, can you give one example that any day-to-day basis incident where you see this particular architecture, or this particular design pattern? Yeah, sorry, this as I said, this tab is new for me. My tab is still getting updated, so this thing is not handy for me. Yeah. So what if broker got corrupted? Then maybe the broker will send wrong details to server and client won't be satisfied. The trading applications work on such platform, distributed service provider. Okay, fine. So let me address Shastra's question first. Now the thing is, if I have a fear that my broker gets compromised, in that case, what tactic I can use is that I can introduce the same concept which we have learned recently. Monitor. Let's introduce a monitor as well. That would help us in dealing with this kind of problem. Now, yeah, this is Shivam, your point is correct. Shavi, your point is also very correct. I'll give you one example from your day-to-day life where you actually see this particular thing, and it is your proxy servers, right? In case of your proxy servers, this kind of setup is there where we don't know from where these requests and other stuffs are coming, but we are only getting the services. In that case, what happens is that, and in fact, these things are very popular, right? We can have this proxy server kind of setup in our universities as well, right? So these things are something which are very popular. What happens in case of proxy server is let's say in our university, let's say we are implementing this concept of proxy server, and what we do is that we are the end users, several, and this proxy server is kept in our server room. So what happens is all the requests gets redirected through this particular proxy server, and the only information we have is we have this the details about the proxy servers. Convinced or confused? Clear. Okay. Okay. Fine. See, what kind of questions you can expect is you can expect some practical questions on this. Right. You can expect some practical questions on this. That means you'll get a scenario, and then you will have to respond back. Now, next is your MVC pattern. So, from your, from your previous discussions in our previous course, you might have some basic idea that, okay, this MVC stands for your model view controller, and what happens here is I have a model, I have a view, I have a controller, and on this end, let's say we are the users. So the users are using this controller which manipulates this model, which further updates this particular view, and this user sees a new view. Right, this further sees, that means the user sees the new view. Any particular example from our day-to-day life where you have seen this particular model view controller and its implementation? So can the dark mode activation feature? Yes, 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 yes. Acha, Shivam, sorry, I missed your point. Are there the single possibility of single point failure? I guess this is in context with the broker pattern. Yes, there is a chance. Brox, yeah, if suppose I don't have the monitor, proxy server gets compromised, obviously we will get into trouble. Now, next is, yeah, Siddharth, very correct. Mobile applications, we are using all these things. Web applications, very correct. So, dark mode activation feature will be considered here. Obviously, yes. So, model view controller, I guess everyone is, very much aware about this. So, basically, uh, it is, more commonly used uh, for developing the user interfaces. So that would divide the related program logic into three components, which is your MVC, and this is done in order to separate the internal representation of the information from the way it is being presented. So in that case, let's take one example, right? Because we have seen this mobile application, web application, right? There is, let's say, a website which displays the temperature, right? So temperature is displayed digitally, let's say 100 degrees centigrade or 200 degrees centigrade. So that's how it is being displayed. Now I want a different view. In that case, I want it to be displayed in a meter. So I have this meter, I have these readings. So based on that, I have this, this is directing to various temperatures based on the current reading. So this is like one view, this is the other view. So in some of the literatures, you will find your view is also drawn in this way. Just to give you a feel that there are multiple views available to us in this particular pattern, right? So don't get confused when you see this kind of diagram. So this is also correct, right? Probably, one of the things which you have to consider is that this will give you the exact idea about the number of views which are available to us. Number of views which are available to us. So as I said, this is majorly with user interfaces. So probably in case of your in case of your web applications or any of the websites, you will find these kinds of modifications which are frequently used and implemented as well. Now, next is your client server pattern, right? So everyone is aware about it, right? Everyone is aware about client server pattern. So on this end, let's say I have some series of servers. You can name it as well. Sorry, S5. On this side, I have like clients, right? And I'm adding it through an internet connection. So what I have is I have a client server pattern. On this end, I have servers. On this end, I have clients and connected to the internet server. Now, any day-to-day example? Any day-to-day example? E-commerce, right? Google, everything. Yeah. So a very popular one. Now, in some of the cases, you'll find that there will be a middle tier. So that becomes your 3-tier architecture. So don't get confused. And there is also a layered architecture. Let me throw some idea on it as well. Right. So there is also a layered architecture, which is also called as your N-tier architecture. Right. So in this, what we have is this is also represented in several ways. Right. This in some of the literatures you will find this there are multiple layers in between your client and server, and it is represented for this N-tier architecture. In some of the literatures you will find model. Then I have controller, and then I have view. Right. So this particular diagram also you'll notice, and probably this is one of the approach which is most common because it is usually built around the database, and many applications which are running in businesses naturally lend themselves to strong information in the tables. So this is something which is for a self-fulfilling prophecy. So many of the biggest and the best software frameworks like your Java and Java Enterprise Edition, your Drupal, these are built with this structure in mind. So most of these applications built with them naturally come out in a layered architecture, right? So don't get confused if you find these kind of deviations in your literature. Now next is your publish subscribe. In case of publish subscribe, what we have is we have event service in between. And on this end, I have publishers. And the role of this publisher is to publish. On this end, I have subscriber. So what they're doing is they're subscribing. And in return, what they're getting is notification. And this is where I have the store management of subscribe and unsubscribe. So this is the pattern for publish subscribe. On one end, what we have is we have series of publishers who are continuously pushing the information, and in between I have the event services which has the details about those who are subscribing and those who are unsubscribing. And at this end, I have the subscribers who are either subscribing or unsubscribing, and in return they are getting the notification based on their subscription. So a very common one. Now I expect some examples from your end. Right, Ramit, very correct. Very correct. Very correct. So Shivam, Siddharth, yes. So RSS feeds, a very popular one based on exactly this publish subscribe with not an iota of deviation. Now the question is, how many of you are aware about RSS feeds? No. So basically, RSS stands for really simple syndication. And this is a web feed that allows users and applications to access updates to websites in a standardized and computer readable format. So basically these feeds can be like, you can allow a user to keep track of many websites, or in a single news aggregator. Long back this was used in sure, no issues. Long back this was used in your Blogspot, right? How many of you are familiar with Blogspot? Yeah, so there you had the widget to add the RSS feed kind of concept. So what it does is that if suppose you are subscribed to those RSS feeds, that means you'll get an email digest that would have the updates about the recent posts on that particular blog. Right, on that particular blog. So that kind of facility you get in the form of RSS feeds. So it gives you the facility, or you can say it facilitates you in order to get the recent updates. It's simply like you're turning on the notifications of the applications these days. So these applications send you push notifications, and these notifications are about the updates related to the recent events or any offers on, let's say, Make My Trip, or your Book My Show, or any other particular app or portal. And these days, the web applications, every now and then you will find, you open a particular website, you'll see a pop-up which says allow notifications or block. Right, that kind of thing is also there. So that means you're subscribing to the notifications, or you're ignoring it. Or sometimes you unsubscribe it as well. So that kind of thing is there. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in this? No. Okay. Let's take another one, which is your pipe and filter. So very simple architecture. Sorry, architectural pattern. So what I have is, I have this pipe, I have this filter. Once again, I have this pipe. Once again, I have this filter. Right, this is pipe. This is pipe. Once again, I get one pipe, and I have this filter. And this can continue based on our need. So what it does is that every time I'm giving some information and a filtering takes place. From this filter, the information is further passed on. Once again, a filtering takes place. From this one, once again, filtering this information is passed on, and a filtering takes place. And once again, there is an output. So at every step, we see some amount of filtration that can be in a form of transformation, that can be in a form of minor transformation, it can be a major transformation as well, or it can be just trimming or appending some information. Anything is possible. Now, any example from day-to-day life? Any example from day-to-day life? Social media feeds, yeah, up to some extent. Yes, there you can also, yeah, do this kind of thing. Yes. Commands like text.c or sort, command prompt. Command prompt, that kind of architecture is not required at this moment. Okay, let's take one example. So, I guess everyone is familiar about compilers. Web servers, yes, yes. Okay, Webber has already given this example. Yeah. So everyone is familiar about compiler. So what it does is, you got some input that is in a form of program. Sorry. Right. And then parsing takes place. That means filtering takes place. And once again, you get a code that is transferred for semantic analysis. Then probably, I'm still not sure, syntactic analysis. I don't remember, long back I studied about compiler, so exact sequence I don't know. Then what happens is, I guess, code optimization takes place. So, code optimization, if I'm not wrong, see, you can reshuffle this sequence, right? And probably code generation. And then you get the output. So there are sequence of filters at these ends, and you're getting some outputs. Similarly, whenever you're firing the SQL command, then also this happens, that access level write is checked, and then you check for whether this particular thing exists or not, then the changes takes place, then saving those changes takes place, and then you see the output, right? So this was all about some of the patterns which we have listed here. As I said, this list is also not complete, and these are some of the major patterns which we have covered. So any doubts up till now? Let's take some doubts and then we are good for today.